What's going on YouTube? So the Volvo XC60 is the brand's best-selling vehicle globally, and that means it's a big deal when they make changes to this model. Now today we're staying next to the 2026 model, which is receiving a significant refresh with a lot of additional features as well as some new styling inside and out and updates to the technology. So we want to know, is the best-selling Volvo actually the best Volvo that you should buy? Well, let's find out. Let's start things out with a quick spec dump. So under the hood, you'll find two different powertrains. We have the high-end T8 plug-in hybrid. This is a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine with an electric motor and an 18.8 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery pack. Total system power is 455 horsepower. It's paired with an all-wheel drive system and 8-speed automatic transmission. Combined fuel economy is 28 mpg.
Now, the base price of the XC60 this year is $49,000, and if you're looking to buy one or any new vehicle, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price.
But let's go ahead and close up the hood because we need to check out the exterior changes and particularly the interior ones. So getting into the exterior design, Volvo has made some tweaks up here to the grille. You might not be able to tell that at first, but as you move in closer to the details, this is where you'll be able to see that they've actually changed the pattern. This is something that Volvo has been rolling out to several of their models where it actually follows two different lines through there and gives it a little bit of a fresh and modern look. Of course, this has always been a very classy design. Volvo is very evolutionary, and I think that's definitely a good idea for their bestseller globally. Now, as far as the headlights are concerned, you still have the signature Thor's Hammer LED. It's not really getting any major updates, so you're not adding the fancy like winking technology from the EX90 or anything like that, but they still have adaptive abilities across all models. These are reflector LEDs on the top and bottom. Now moving on to the wheels, they do get some updated designs for 2026. As far as your selections, it really ranges a lot. You begin with 18-inch alloys and you move all the way up to the max size right here. These are 22-inch alloys. These are absolutely monsters for the compact luxury SUV segment. And I have to say, they look fantastic. We'll talk about ride quality later on, but as far as the looks, definitely an A+. Now moving up here to our mirrors, we've got a gloss black finish. They come fully loaded as well, so that includes blind spot monitoring, heating, power folding, and auto dimming.
Now at the side of the XC60, overall vehicle length is 185.4 inches, which is a good size for this segment. And as far as design touches, you may notice that all of your window surrounds are going to be blacked out. We also have blacked out roof rails up here at the top. And that's because the XC60, at least here in the US, is only available in the dark theme. So you won't be able to find any chrome elements here on this model. You will have to bump up to the XC90 if you like that chrome look. Now, speaking of some colors as well, let's talk about that. For the 2026 model year, we get some new colors, including this beautiful forest lake color. It's a really nice green. I'm sure in the harsh lighting you might not be able to see its full beauty, but it definitely looks beautiful in other lighting conditions. Now, let's talk about the rear design of the XC60. Once more, just like the front, they didn't really mess with success. This is a beautiful overall look, and they've updated a few elements, but really not too much. So we have a spoiler up here at the top. We have a wiper through the center section, our signature Volvo branding, and then let's take a look at our taillights. So in typical Volvo fashion, you have those full-length taillights, very recognizable even at nighttime. And we do have full LED elements, your LED brake light, LED reverse light, and LED turn signal indicator. Dropping down to the lower fascia, this is slightly tweaked for 2026. And as far as your tow capacity, that's coming in at 3,500 pounds. Now, Volvos are synonymous with safety, so it makes sense that all 4 of your active safety features will be standard equipment for 2026. The adaptive cruise is actually newly standard to every single model this year. But there's a lot to talk about on the inside and some completely new tech. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we've reviewed over 2,000 cars at every price point.
No matter what you're looking for, from sound level readings to cargo measurements, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars. Okay, let's check out the interior next. First, here's the key fob. It's Volvo's typical key fob, just a plastic black key fob with a square shape. You of course have a standard smart entry system. Now getting inside the vehicle, just reach behind the handle that will unlock the door and fold the mirrors outward. Then we can take a look at the interior. So when it comes to this, the overall design hasn't really changed a ton. Of course, this has always had a very upscale and chic look in my opinion, but you'll see the updates as I kind of go through them. But before we do that, we're going to talk about the seats. So this starts with Nordico, which is Volvo's synthetic or faux leather. However, when you get the Ultra trim, which is what we're featuring today, this is going to upgrade you to Nappa leather. Now, Nappa leather is one of the finest grades of leather that you can get in the auto industry. It's really just a beautiful, soft, and supple leather. I love the way this feels and looks. Today, we're showing off the blonde color option, but you can also get some other colors as well. As far as the seats, we have a power adjusting seat as standard on all models. We also have the extra adjustments with the thigh extension, and you can also option on massagability. And then of course, memory seats are located right there on the door trim. But let's go ahead and climb inside. Now looking around at the rest of the cabin materials, we'll start over here with the door trim. We have a leather material with the stitch detail and through there as well. Soft touch plastic along the top. Beautiful metal speaker grills. A leatherette trim will cover the entire upper dash and all through here. And of course, you can see we've got this beautiful blonde colored wood. It's an open pore wood. It's always been one of my favorite details about this Volvo interior. It continues for 2026 down through there as well. Still no padding along the console. I would have liked to see that adjusted for 2026, but otherwise it's quite nice. Now we'll go ahead and twist this knob here to start it up. Now jumping into the individual details of the cabin, we have our digital gauge cluster. It's 12.3 inches, and you can put Google Maps built into the screen itself, which looks quite nice. Of course, we also have a head-up display, as you expect for the Ultra trim level. Now moving back to the steering wheel, we have the tailored steering wheel, which has the two-tone finish. The wheel itself is manual tilt and telescoping, and you also have steering wheel heating. And then let's talk about this area right here. So Volvo actually rearranged this to give you a little bit more storage for 2026. Inside the center console, not super large, but it's not really out of line with what you expect for this segment of vehicle. What's different though is that they've kind of rearranged this so our cup holders are a little bit different now, and we have this flat spot, which is the standard wireless phone charging pad. So this gives you like a very clear place where you can actually set your phone. We had complained about that in the past where most owners were kind of having to jam their phone in the cup holders or something like that. Now as far as the shifter is concerned, we've got the beautiful crystal shifter on the top trim. Pull back for drive, bump into reverse here, and then this is a big change for 2026. So the Plus trim and the Ultra trim get this 360 camera. And this is upgraded to now have the split view. So previously you had to select which view you wanted to see. Now you can see the overhead and the traditional rear view simultaneously. And then you can also go in and change through different views right through there in the system, which is definitely a nice upgrade. And the resolution looks better as well. Just press that P for park. You also have an electronic parking brake with brake hold located right behind that. Now the next place we arrive at is the big old volume knob, which thankfully we still have the physical volume knob. I know a lot of people appreciate that. And controlling that is going to be several different audio systems. There's 3 choices. You start with 10 speakers, and then when you move all the way up to the top dog system, this is the 15 speaker Bauer & Wilkins audio system. One of our very favorite systems in the entire auto industry. Let's go ahead and sample that right now. Very nice. Like I already said, it's one of our favorite audio systems in the industry for a reason. It just sounds fantastic. You hear details in songs that you never heard before in other audio systems. Okay, so now let's zero in on the new technology for 2026. So this is a big update. We now have an 11.2-inch display in place of the previous 9-inch display. So what that means is kind of, instead of being in between the vents, it now kind of busts out and extends just a little above the dash, but it's mostly still kind of integrated in. It's not, too much of that tablet style that I know a lot of people complain about. Now, as far as the technology on board, it's got the latest infotainment software for Volvo. This is a Google-based software, so it's got Google built in and all the Android Automotive features as well. That means you have things like Google Assistant as well as Google Maps, which I can show off right there. Now, as far as some other functions, you have your climate controls down there at the bottom. You just tap the temperature to make your adjustments to that. We have heated and ventilated seats, of course, on the Ultra, and we also have the heated steering wheel I mentioned earlier, all three with 3 different stages. And then right there is where you can find some other applications to mess with. Up top, we have an auto-dimming mirror with our HomeLink universal remotes. And then if I swipe back on that pad, that will bring back the sunshade for the panoramic sunroof. As you can see, this is a nice and large piece of glass, and unlike some of the recent Volvos that have been coming out, this does still open up in the front panel.
Now let's go ahead and talk about the rear seat area of the XC60. Now this has always been a nice area, and for the refresh, nothing is really going to change when it comes to this. So what we're sitting at are about 38 inches of legroom and about 38 inches of headroom. Those are good numbers for the segment. It is very much on par with rivals like the Audi Q5, BMW X3, Genesis GV70, and of course I brought along the official Car Confections ruler. The reason I do that is so I can get a realistic knee room figure. This seat is adjusted to Drew's 5'8" seating position. I am 5'9" for reference, and we are sitting at about 8.5 inches of knee room. My feet can easily slide up underneath of these seats, and these seats are really quite comfortable back here. I love these rear seats, and they unfortunately do not recline, so that is something to keep in mind. Now, if we fold down the center armrest, we do have 2 cup holders inside. We have a little bit of a trunk pass-through there, and then also here in the center section, we have some features. So you'll notice that we have heated back seats. That's going to be included on your upper end XC60 models. This is a little storage cubby. It would be climate controls on some of your higher end Volvo products. And then we have 2 USB-C ports down below. Just be aware this middle seat does have quite the hump, so you might be a little uncomfortable in that middle seat. Now, vents are coming out of the B-pillar here, and as far as the door trim, we have a nice one. We have soft touch plastic all on the top, leatherette all through the center section, and a decent amount of door storage down in the very bottom. Walking up to the tailgate, we have a standard hands-free power one, and let's talk about overall cargo capacity. So what we're sitting at is about 22 cubic feet of space behind the second row of seats, and as a maximum, we're looking at 63 cubic feet for this model. Now, those are pretty good space figures. As a matter of fact, it's larger than a lot of your German competition. The new X3 is slightly bigger than this, but overall, a great amount of space. And speaking of this vehicle's competition in the luxury compact segment, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. The reason you should do that is because we've looked at all the options, BMW X3, GLC, GV70, and we've ranked them against this product. So in areas like cargo capacity, interior technology, luxury features, powertrain choices, and even value. So if you want to make an informed buying decision, definitely check out our tool at carconfections.com/vehicle rankings to make that decision. Now, back to this model. You will see that the seats fold 60-40 split. You do have that trunk pass-through that I was mentioning earlier. And in order to fold the seats down, you just kind of have to reach up here and push them forward. There are not handles to do it in the cargo area, but it is nice and easy, honestly. They fold completely flat with the floor. Now let's get our cargo length, width, and height figures. As far as cargo length, behind Drew's 5'8" seating position, 73 inches of length. From behind the second row of seats, 38 inches of length. Opening, 44 inches wide. Height, 29 inches in height. And then let's get our load in height. As you can see, because we have the air suspension, I can actually bring this car down a lot. As you can see, that really reduces your load in height. And honestly, guys, that might be the lowest SUV I've ever done. 26 inches of load in height. That is absolutely phenomenal. Underneath the floor, there's a little space for your charge cable, but you will not find a spare tire. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the Volvo XC60. In this test drive, we're going to be discussing quite a lot. As you can see right now, we'll also be getting things like our sound level reading as well. But first, we need to start with a hard acceleration. Wow.
60. We left those others in the dust. So, as I discussed at the beginning with the spec dump, this is the T8. This is the high-performance plug-in hybrid model. And by high performance, I mean 455 horsepower and 523 pound-feet of torque. So that obviously is a lot of power. And that's made from a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine paired with a very strong electric motor. And you also have an 18.8 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery pack. So, overall, fairly complex powertrain. But I have to say, it all works together pretty nicely, and it really delivers a lot of power.
Yeah, absolutely. And even more than just the horsepower, I think you'll really notice the torque. 523 pound-feet of torque is what you have on board with the XC60 T8 plug-in hybrid model. So well over 500 pound-feet of torque is certainly a lot for this segment of vehicle. It really pushes you back in your seat. 0 to 60 on this, if you're curious, is sitting right around 4.5 seconds. Now, we've lived with this powertrain actually a couple different times with an XC60 and also with an XC90, and really nothing but good things to say about this powertrain. It does a great job of... We're going 67, and they're going about 100. Oh, wow.
Double whammy.
And as I was saying, we lived with this powertrain quite a lot, and really nothing but good things to say about it. It's super efficient, and, the electric motor itself is powerful enough that even in the full electric mode, without kicking the engine on, it is definitely fast enough to keep up with the flow of traffic. And, if you want to tap into that power, it definitely has it. Now, on the base end, you can, save some money, actually quite a lot of money, by choosing the B5 powertrain. That's just going to be a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder. It does have mild hybrid technology on that. 247 horsepower, 266 pound-feet of torque, so significantly down when it comes to horsepower and torque on that. But we've also, reviewed that, and honestly, the power is perfectly adequate for most people's needs. So if you definitely want to save some money and, don't care as much about being maybe all electric and the electric range that this plug-in hybrid has to offer, maybe just select that one.
So that was the power drive mode, which just automatically activates all the systems, electric and the engine, simultaneously, so it doesn't have that small hesitation where it's thinking about how to route the power. Now, speaking of routing power, we have an 8-speed automatic transmission that goes across the entire lineup, no matter which of the two powertrains you select, and both of them also have standard all-wheel drive.
Yep. And let's go ahead and hit fuel economy as well. I think that's an important element for this model. The B5 model is rated at 2330, 26 mpg, so that's pretty good numbers. This, of course, is the plug-in hybrid, so an important number with that is your all-electric range, and what we're sitting at is 35 miles on a single charge. We also actually range tested this powertrain in the XC90, and in our range test in the real world, it actually exceeded that, figure that it was rated for. So this powertrain is certainly very good when it comes to, utilizing that 18.8 kilowatt-hour battery pack.
All right, couldn't resist. It was just, there's no traffic and it's completely flat.
That is
but
quick.
Yeah, it really is. It's kind of addicting how fast this thing is.
Yeah. Really, in terms of power, this XC60 really competes more with something like a X3 M50 or an Audi SQ5 or a GV70 with the V6. Of course, those vehicles are kind of targeting a different customer when it comes to the sportiness that they offer. This is really focused on just kind of the luxury of the power as well as the efficiency of the plug-in hybrid. But certainly when you're looking at raw power numbers, this is just as fast as most of those other options.
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about that as we kind of go around some of these corners. Like Mason was saying, this is not, the same as an X3 M50. Even the power is similar because the overall performance of this is not going to be as exciting. The steering is pretty lightweight. You can put it in the firm mode, but it still doesn't have a ton of feel. Also, you get a little bit more body roll for sure versus one of those vehicles. But it is still relatively fun to drive in the sense that you have that a little bit of European sportiness, but just not a ton.
Yeah, and let's just go ahead and hit ride quality as well. That does mean that Volvo is focused on comfort with this model, and you will see that demonstrated as you just kind of drive along in this vehicle. It is definitely comfort focused. I love these Volvo seats. They're fantastic. And when it comes to the suspension, we actually have selected the available air suspension. So really almost none of the other options in the segment. The new Q5 actually does have this as an option, but most of the options do not give you the air suspension. We have that on this particular model, and I think it does a great job of, helping soak up those bumps that you may experience. Now, I will say, if you select the 22-inch wheels on the outside, like what we have on this model, you certainly might need to get the air suspension because the ride quality is still probably not the best in the segment, even with the air suspension, just because those wheels are absolutely massive on the outside. They look great, but that does kind of negatively impact your ride a little bit.
Yeah, it doesn't have like extreme harshness or anything, but you can feel the road.
If you hit a big bump in the road, that's where you start to feel the wheel size. Let's go ahead and get our sound level reading going 55 miles per hour so we can see how quiet this XC60 is. 56.5 decibels is what we are sitting at as our sound level reading. We don't have to sit here and guess how it compares to the rivals. We can find that at carconfections.com/sound level readings. And compared to rivals, that certainly isn't going to be the quietest option in the segment. That being said, as you might see by the beautiful scenery that we're at, we're on PCH right now. So we're in California, so we're not in our home, state of Kentucky, and the road surfacing is different here. So we do expect that maybe that sound level reading would go down a little bit if we were to test it back home in Kentucky. So you have to stay tuned for that. And of course, we've got to do our Car Confections Slam Dunk and Airball. Drew, why don't you kick us off with the Slam Dunk?
The Slam Dunk is going to be, a combination of two things. 2026 improvements, I think, were really nice. Specifically, the technology was falling behind the competition. One place, though, that hasn't fallen behind the competition is the interior quality. We both think this is a really nice interior. It's really well done. And even compared to some of the newer rivals, it still has a little bit more luxury than they do.
Absolutely. I think this cabin is certainly very nice. Now, on the flip side, the Airball is going to be the price. I know we haven't mentioned that just yet, but we will talk about it in just a second. This one's sitting in the upper 70, around 78 grand for this model as tested today, which is a lot of money. That really makes this the most expensive option in the segment, which certainly, you can have your thoughts on. I mean, it definitely is not quite as sporty as some of the German rivals that you could be getting for this type of money. And let's talk pricing for the XC60. So we start, like I said, at around $50,000, around $49,700 for the base model. Keep in mind you have standard all-wheel drive. And, of course, as you move up the powertrain selections, you do have a more expensive starting point. This plug-in hybrid starts at around 61 grand. And we have the Ultra with all the options as well, so the price does inflate quite a lot. We're sitting in the upper $70,000 price point for this model, which definitely is pretty expensive for this segment, that's for sure. Now, this vehicle is manufactured overseas, and if you're looking to buy a Volvo XC60 or any new vehicle, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you should do that is because we have a tool on our website that'll connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool to use while dealer negotiating. If you'd like to take advantage of all that, as well as things like our monthly payment tool, you can find a link to that down below in our video description, as well as a pinned comment at the top of this video. But buying a vehicle is about more than just the original MSRP, so let's talk about resale and reliability. First up, let's talk about resale value. As an economics graduate myself, we took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Volvo XC60's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it'll be worth 42.52% of original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 12.52%. It is worth noting that is below industry average for all vehicle brands. However, it is above some of the German competition that you may be looking at, such as Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and Audi.
Now, we've also done the same for reliability by developing the Combined Reliability Index. This takes into account several studies on reliability and puts them together to give you the best overall picture. In this regard, Volvo is rated below the overall industry average for all vehicle brands.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale values, our reliability data, or our methodology, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a new vehicle is a big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase. Also, a part of that decision should be your warranty. 4-year, 50,000 miles for both basic and powertrain on the Volvo brand. You do have an 8-year, 100,000 mile power or battery warranty specifically for this model, and complimentary maintenance has been reduced from 3 years down to 2 years and 20,000 miles for 2026 model year Volvos. Guys, that wraps up our in-depth review of the refreshed 2026 Volvo XC60. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, which we hope you did, we'd really appreciate you hitting that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to be a part of our Car Confections family. We have a lot of fun on this channel, and I promise you won't want to miss out. If you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.